As you can see, as you probably read it in the title, I'm basically just quitting Genshin outright. This will probably be the last video I ever make on Genshin. And, for all time's sake, right? Why don't we just do one last in-game survey? And then I'll go over what I mean by why. Because, you know, we can even, like, go review the Sumeru stuff at the same time, but... And if you guys know, like, over the past while, I haven't exactly been enjoying Genshin. I've just been going through the motions and playing through it under, like, a bunch of coping that maybe they'll actually do something. And maybe they'll actually develop the game part of the game instead of just shoehorning a bunch of filler garbage everywhere and just having no engaging content. You know, like, I've also just had other issues when playing through Sumeru, like on stream. When I was playing through the Archon quest, the first act, I literally had, like, the domain quest in there. Soft lock on me, like, 3 times. Like, I had to, like, exit the thing and reopen it, like, 3 times on stream. All because, I was apparently moving too fast, and I glitched through something, even though all I was doing was using Sayu and Yelan's skill. Because I wanted to travel faster. Because of just how long and tedious this stuff was. And in the second act, that Archon quest was just full on trolling. They literally made a ripoff of, like, the Endless 8 arc from Haruhi Suzumiya. But they made it take more than twice as long. Right, and you can't skip anything. Like, I remember I saw this post, I'll probably link a picture of it, like, right here. But there was this post on Reddit where someone literally got banned for using an auto-clicker in Genshin because they wanted to skip the story. I mean, it's kind of ridiculous, but, like, yeah. Honestly, they asked me how do I like the new areas. Honestly, because of how the gimmicks and stuff worked, and, like, the weird terrain stuff in there, it was just kind of exhausting. I didn't enjoy it. I had to keep switching around to different characters in and out instead of using the stuff I like to use for traveling faster. Just because, oh, you needed a specific element, you know, maybe you need to bring a dendro thing in here to do something. But it just got, like, really tedious and clunky, especially when I had to lower the water level. It literally felt like I was equipping and unequipping the iron boots when navigating the water temple in Zelda Ocarina of Time on the N64. I mean, Zhongli is fine, right? I don't really care with Tignari. It's just Ganyu but with weed. Whatever. Oh, the tablet analytics one, was this the one where you had, like, those random buffs that just don't matter? Again, it's just like, it's just not engaging. It's not even it's too difficult. It's the exact opposite. Like, I just didn't have to pay attention. They don't really, like, you can pretty much ignore it. Like, you have this cool elemental reaction combat system, but, like, the game is just too easy where, like, you don't even need to bother. Like, you just don't. Like, it doesn't matter. And then there's, like, it's just so long and tedious, but, like, what you're doing is you're basically just sitting there mindlessly mashing buttons because it just doesn't matter. And if, like, it's just the stages also just took way too long for what they were. The combat could have been interesting, right? That's one of the cool things that at least Genshin could have had, but they don't do anything with it, right? The tablet effects things that don't even matter. Honestly, nope. Like, they're just putting distractions at this point. Like, the effects one, I don't even care. Sure, I'll just say they're too weak, but, like, at the same time, the enemies were also just too weak, it doesn't even matter. stuff doesn't even matter. Like, the game itself is just, it's just very boring, yeah. That's pretty much how I felt. It was just very boring. I mean, you got something, but like they barely give anything anyways, so I'm gonna just say unsatisfied. How satisfied was I with the interface? I mean, it's just okay, here's the enemies on the list, I guess. It is nothing special. Like the new Regisvine, they literally just took a boss they already had and recolored it. Now it's no longer this light blue with white mixed in, or this orangey red one. No, now you have a purple one. Yeah, a purple flower. Cool, I guess. And this one, I don't even know what it does. All I know is it dies really quickly. So, there you go. Whatever. And these ones are just more ruined things that, again, they just die after a few sneezes. You know, I think, like, one of them, like, flies up, I guess. Didn't really notice, didn't really pay attention. I mean, these guys are just a different colored treasure hoarder again. They kind of just do whatever. Didn't really care the fungi either. Just put a venti skill and they're all gone. Whatever. The thing has a... Yes, I don't think... Not aware of it. I don't even care. I probably triggered it anyways because I somehow got the event thing done without me knowing. Because they wanted you to do whatever to the things, scorch them or whatever. I know the setting, but there are details. Honestly, I probably understand it. You just put fire, whatever. Fine, fire. Oh, you scorch it, activate it. You just put electric on there. Yeah, I was kind of unsatisfied. It just kind of got annoying to do it. Like, oh, cool, you got the special materials, but it didn't even matter. So it's whatever. I mean, these are just slightly bigger boars. That's effectively what those Shrumpler beasts are. Whatever. And again, like, you kill them easily. Again, they're just meat. I don't really care. There's something, I guess. But it just doesn't matter. They just asked me, how do I think about the new enemies? Oh, well, there really isn't much there. But yeah, like, the game itself has just been kind of unengaging. You know, I know some people will say, oh, the game has, like they'll say game has no content or whatever. I have a lot of quests to do. The problem is, I don't think it's that the game has no content. It's rather, it doesn't have any engaging content. A lot of the story segments for the past while, you know, like they've just been really boring or just kind of tedious or annoying to do. I mean, there's also just the fact that even like the act of just traversing over a longer area, it's also quite exhausting, right? Because like the movement itself on your world, it is quite slow. You want the fastest movement, you probably want to set up like this, where you got Sayu roll in for a little bit of speed, right? You finish that and you just switch quickly into Yalan, right? You keep moving faster, whatever, right? But like if you compare it to just running without it, it's a lot slower. It's a lot slower to just do the running. And then the climbing as well, and also it just consumes stamina. So like when you get to like some of the places that are a little bit more vertical and you have to keep climbing over and over to get to some of the higher areas, you're kind of just stuck waiting so much. Like it just feels like they're padding it out by making you just wait before you can do certain actions. You're just kind of waiting. Like if I was at the bottom of this to try to climb up, it just got really just tedious and exhausting. Like especially for some of the larger areas. And then it doesn't also help like, oh cool, and you find a chest, you get like 2 primo gems. With the amount of time and effort that's worked, like
take it easy,
that it takes to really get there, it just didn't feel like it was worth it. Like it just doesn't. So that's kind of just how I've been with the exploration as well. Like I did play through the event thing with the Summer Islands one on stream as well. I never bothered to finish collecting all the chests. I basically just got the costume for Fischl, and then I just ignored it. But like, yeah, you can see right here, like I'm trying to climb back up. Oh cool, I ran out of stamina. Wow, I like, it just got really annoying if you want to go like beeline it to a specific spot as well. And then of course there are places where the terrain is a bit of a mess still, and you know, let's say I wanted to get down from here. Well, this is what happens when you try to move faster and like get down. You get stuck still. You know, Yellon has the same problem here. Maybe I wanted to run down there. It's just the amount of stopping you have to do even when you have the nicer, faster movement options. It just got really annoying. Like, and I've just not been interested in continuing with this stuff. Because like, you compound this over all the areas here. I just stopped caring. I just kind of stopped. Right? You have the things as well with like all that's left to do even after. Even after you put that aside, you know, you go finish that. At the end of the day, all that's left then is just logging in for 10 minutes a day to do your 4 daily commissions or whatever. And then you go spend your resin, you know, in, you go to, you know, you go to your artifact domain, you know, you go spend your resin, and then you're kind of just done, right? There's really nothing there. But like at the same time, you know, like I don't even need the full form. Like, this is just what happens when you go in here. Right, let's just bring Venti in here.
Give me a moment to compose myself.
But like, you know, when the gist of the combat is just, okay, push your skill, swap to the next character, then push the next skill. Right, that's basically all it is. Right, I'm just gonna use Yolande to move there faster. Right, but this is basically all you do.
Emerge, right here. Think you can get away?
Right?
You are not welcome here.
And then you just wait. That's all you have to do, maybe push that skill. You know? That's kind of it, and you just repeat that over and over and over again. Just in a different room every time. I mean, the artifact system has just so many problems there. We've gone over before. I've ranted about it on stream. With the amount of absurd RNG layers you have there, it's like 22 or something, right? Because, you know, when you have an artifact drop, they have, yeah, I don't care about that event item. That stuff also was just kind of annoying to deal with. Having to just use various random gadgets in there and swap them in and out constantly. When they could have just been like active passively, but like, you know, the fact that like no 2 artifacts can have the same stat budget, because not only do artifacts, you know, they like you can see right here, look at the stats there. Look at that stat difference right there, right? You know, outside of rolling for different main stats and slots in there, right? The substats, they also not only can come in like 3 or 4 drops on the piece, right? Like you have some with 3, and then you have where's the one with 4? We had one before. Like you have some with 4 stats. So the one with 4 stats, regardless of like the actual rolls on the stats, it technically has a higher stat budget simply because there's more total stats on it. And then like the values as well, like they're in a range. You know, you got like high to low rolls there. You got like 4 possible ranges. And then every time you upgrade the stats, you know, it just builds on top of that. So like, you're just never gonna get the artifacts that you really want, right? And that's why if you've ever seen like various different videos there of people talking about like characters' damage potentials or whatever, you'll never see like a full-on straight 100% damage potential. Because with the artifact system the way it is, it's impossible without the use of external food buffs or potions. Which is what you might see when you can use them. So like, it's a bit misleading there, but I mean, I guess at the same time, it kind of doesn't matter when the average enemy just dies in like, without you having to pay attention anyways. Because the game's difficulty does not scale with the player. Like, sure, your world level can go up and increase. But, you know, as soon as you get a little bit of gear, you pretty much outscale everything. So it kind of doesn't matter. Like, the game's in a weird spot as well, where, like, you got those RPG stat mechanics and all that, but they just don't matter. Because the game is just too easy. Like, there's just nothing there. So then, like, you know, the complex elemental reaction system there, which, you know, it has potential. It had potential. But there's just, like, the game is so easy that you don't even need to really pay attention. You can just, you basically end up just pushing a bunch of buttons, you know, pushing the character skills, switching to the next one to go do the same thing. Like, that's even some of the best, like, you know, the people theory crafted or whatever. It's just skill spam. Swap to the next character to then do the next skill and do it in a loop. And because of that, like, most of the characters, you know, they end up feeling kind of the same. And then there's a few exceptions, right? You know, there are some characters that have other issues, like if you wanted to play co-op, right? Let's say you wanted to play someone, let's say, like, here's a good example. Oh, let's say you wanted to play Child, right? You know, he has this really cool thing where, like, yeah, he has a bow, but, like, what you want to use him for is this little dagger stance change thing, right? But the problem is, with the co-op, you're stuck with the one character you selected, right? Especially in 4-player. And because a lot of the characters, either they're just skill spam and swap to the next character, or they do have downtime issues, right? So, like, let's say after this thing ends, right? Oh wow, 30-second cooldown. I can't wait to just sit here and do nothing for 30 seconds. Like, that's kind of a problem like a couple of these characters do have, right? There's a lot of these characters with these problems, right? You got, let's say, oh yeah, let's say, yeah, Raiden has one, right? You want her Booba Sword. I don't even have her energy for it. But, like, it only lasts not 17 seconds. 7 seconds on, like, an 17-second cooldown. What else we got? You got Yoimiya, right? You want her fire arrows, right? You only get 10 seconds of this, and then you have to wait, like, another 6 seconds or something like that. I have, like, the constellation, so it lasts a little bit longer, but, like, you're just stuck waiting, and you basically could be doing nothing when you're just doing that waiting portion, because a lot of the characters' kit, it just doesn't matter, right? So you have that too, right? Who tells another one, right? Her skill, what? It lasts like 9 seconds, right? 9 seconds on a 16-second cooldown. Again, you get another, you know, 7 seconds of downtime here, right? You just want to do this. Pretty simple, right? You go use her thing for a bit. And then now you're doing, like, no damage again, because you no longer have the fire stuff. So, like, a lot of the time as well, you end up just waiting. If you don't clear things really quickly, because they're basically designed around you just constantly switching to push 2 buttons. But in the same time, you end up with characters that basically end up feeling the same, right? Like, I'll probably put up a chart here on, like, how most of the characters basically function. But, like, I'm pretty sure, like, 70% of the roster here, they're literally just basically push 2 buttons and swap. Another decent chunk is, you can use them on field, I guess, but they have some downtime issues, right? So there's only, like, a very few select characters that actually can keep doing what they're doing on the field. But even then, because, you know, the game's kind of limited to, like, the 5 different weapon types as well. There's only so much they can do with them that it just kind of got boring after a while. Like, you can have, like, 50 plus characters. But the reality is, like, I have all these characters, but I only really use, you know, 8 to 10 of them. And some of those in that 8 to 10, I pretty much only use because they make moving around a little bit better in regards to, like, using Yelan and Sayu. I pretty much only use them simply because they have a slightly faster travel in the open world. Just so I can spend less time doing the chores, I guess. Because that's basically just how the game's been feeling for me. So, yeah, I'm pretty much just done with this, you know. The only fun I can really think of that you can have in Genshin, you can't even do it inside of Genshin. Because at this point, the only thing the game has going for it is the art. But even then, there have been people who've implemented things like ray tracing or custom shaders, and they've made the game look night and day different, like way better than the actual Genshin Impact itself does. Like what you're looking on here is the actual max graphics settings you can get in the game, right? I mean, it does look nice for what it is. I think I'll go to like another spot that I wanted to show if I remember where it is correctly. I think it was this place. And then like I'll put up a video of someone with these custom shader stuff. But because you would have to modify the game and everything, right, to like actually use those mods, and because of the aggressive anti-cheat stuff that Genshin has, which, you know, it's oddly enough, because of their little anti-cheat, on mobile devices such as laptops and stuff like that, like laptops or those mini handheld PCs like the Steam Deck or GPD Win or the Ioneo and that stuff, Genshin Impact is actually harder to run on the lowest settings than a game like Elden Ring, because for some reason it causes like some really bizarre CPU behavior, and it doesn't leave any power to your graphics. So the game actually has some weird poor performance on mobile PC devices that are constrained with power limits, especially those with like under a 15-watt limit, which is probably like what most laptops that people would buy. That isn't one of those like gamery, like those gamer focused laptops. Even though like there are like some of those laptops in those power envelope that can handle games decently well. So that was kind of like another weird one I discovered. But like, yeah, Genshin has some really weird optimizations there. Like, you don't really see it on a desktop because you're not really constrained by power limits. That was just like some weird thing I noticed when I have tried to get this game running on my Steam Deck. But then there's also just the other fun thing that people have also done, right? I'll probably like put a few videos here before I end it. But like, you know, they've done custom character and model swaps in there. They've added a bunch of stuff in there into the game. But to do all of those things, you can't do it to the official version of the game. You kind of have to not touch the grass, go out and touch grass, but rather go out and cut the grass, so to speak, and run your own like private server or something. Which, you know, they're still a bit behind. They're still missing a few features that the game has. But at least you can have fun in a sandbox there. I can't really say the same for like the vanilla, like regular version of Genshin. You just pretty much got an empty world that looks pretty. But with mods, you can make it look even prettier. The story is just kind of a mess. The Inazuma story arc, it like, you know, at the start it was great, kind of, and then you got to the point where like, okay, just go hang out with Ayaka and Yoimiya, and then you just skip to the ending, basically. It's kind of like you got a book, they gave you the first 3 chapters, they gave you the last 2 chapters, but like the 10 chapters in between, in the middle of the book, to go build it up, they just yank out those pages. Like, it just felt really incomplete, and it was just missing like everything to break down in between. It just, you know, it just escalated a bit too quickly there. So that was a mess. And then Sumeru's story kind of just felt like trolling. And then early on, I remember early on when Genshin first launched, there weren't that many quests out and about. So you had the thing where like, I know people were complaining about like how Tower of Fantasy was just time gating like crazy. If you played Genshin on launch, it was time gating the time gating was a lot worse. Because instead, you just had to keep getting to the next adventure rank. And until you hit like adventure rank 30, for example, you couldn't even like finish off like the leeway story quest stuff there, because there wasn't enough filler side quests for you to do, so you're just stuck waiting for like a couple weeks at the start to just do your daily bounties and not daily bounties, your daily commissions and your and then spend your resin, right? Go do your ley lines or whatever. You're pretty much just stuck doing that constantly, like for the first couple of weeks, just so you could actually continue the story. Which early on, at least it was something. But like yeah, like the time gate is there. Like that, it's no longer the case now, because they've added a ton of these character story quests. Like I've done some of them. I haven't done done all of them though. I mean, we have these two, but like they're kind of just boring to me. I just didn't bother doing them. Like after I did the initial batch, I kind of just stopped caring. And the rewards weren't worth my time as well, kind of thing. So I just didn't bother paying attention. It just feels like, again, like the way they're making the content, right? They're gonna be giving us a card game in the next update. Cool, I guess. But if I wanted to play a card game, I'd probably already be playing a card game, not just playing another game so I can just play another game within the game. But at the same time, it just feels like they really don't care about like what they have created. Like they've probably made like $3 billion by now over the past 2 years in developing this game, but it kind of doesn't really feel like it. And at the rate they're releasing the content, at this point, like especially when like you've seen like over the past 2 years, most of their patches are literally just filler FOMO, like just filler junk where it's like, yeah, let's just distract the player, you know? Let's just put whatever. We need to sell the next character, right? Like, they're just gonna be like, okay, we need to sell these characters. What do we do? I don't know. But we'll just shoot in some random story quests or whatever. We'll put in a distraction. And that's just kind of what they've been doing. At this point, I feel like, well, we're gonna see, like, Star Citizen release. Or, like, a Half-Life 3 might actually come out. Before we're ever gonna get, like, the continuation of the story in the sense that, like, you know, Lumine or Aether will finally meet her brother or his sister or whatever, depending on who your main character was. Like, that's what it feels like at this point. And they obviously don't care about developing the end game. You know, when the game came out, we had 12 floors of the Spiral Abyss. You know, every patch, they'll, like, slightly change the order of, like, or like the order or the quantity or whatever enemies are in there. But at the end of the day, it's still just the same thing. You can kind of just go in there, not really pay too much attention once you're geared enough. And then you just win. Because again, there's just kind of nothing to work towards. So it just feels like you're just like going around here. There's some nice art, but that's about it. That's kind of it. But even then, if you just want to look at the art, you know, you want to look in the best way possible, even then, people have created ways using custom shaders and other mods that you can't do within the base version of the game without getting your account banned. But even then, it's just not the best version of the game as well. I feel like at this point, we have to wait for, like, private servers to implement all the features that the base game already has. Like, it doesn't really have quest support and cutscene support yet. I think that's the only real thing that the private servers are kind of missing. Once they have that, then, like, it will just be the better version of the game, because Genshin is effectively it's just a single player game that just happens to have co-op. Kind of. And that's kind of it. Right? So, this is just me you know, signing off of Genshin for basically for good. Maybe I'll check it out at one point in the future again. But probably not in an official capacity. Because it's just not going anywhere. Right, it's just not going anywhere and the game just hasn't been engaging. I just push a bunch of buttons and just wait. That's just how it feels like. And I guess I'll just end my half-hour rant here. I'll see you guys next time then. Goodbye. And goodbye to Genshin for basically forever. I gave you 2 years, but I'm finally just leaving this abusive relationship. See ya.